Hello, it's Elizabeth, and I'm over here in my art loft, and I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. Let's see how to do that like this. That'll be good. Today I wanted to show you some Christmas cards I'm making. I know it's July, and we're having Christmas in July, so a group of us are getting together, got together, and are making Christmas cards, and then are going to exchange them for July. And we're going to make a Christmas album out of them, because if you try to make a Christmas album when it's Christmas time, guess what? You have a bazillion other things to do, so it's a lot easier to do it now. I wanted to show you some of the ones I've already made. This one says Joy, J-O-Y, and it has these little turn things in it, which you can twist around and put in the envelope, and when you get them out of the envelope and open them up, then they untwist for you. And I put Have a Merry Christmas in July. Okay, that was the first one I made of the ones that I did this in July this time. So all I did was to cut the circles, the 3 different size circles. I fussy cut the little joy, the wreath, and the Y out of some kind of a cardstock that I have that's a Christmas pack. You can probably find all different kinds of versions of that at your local craft stores and online, I'm sure. And then I took 2 of them and put them back to back to 2 papers and cut out the Y out of 2 papers and then put them back to back on this string that's strung through here. If you're really interested and you want me to see a tutorial on that, I learned that from seeing it on Pinterest, but I'm sure there are tutorials on YouTube. I have not done one yet. Okay, so I like that a lot, so I did another one, and this time I put the cardstock inside out. This one was red cardstock, obviously. This one was printed cardstock with the white. I put the white outside, and then I added a piece of paper to the outside and had to recut the circles. I recut those with my X-Acto knife. And this one I just put little cute things in, and then I put little circles that I had cut out of the cardstock. I just put them down here and decorated them with my gel pens. Okay, same concept as the other one. So I got tired of that and decided I would do something different. So I did this one with a Christmas tree, Have a Merry Christmas in July. And I did a rubber stamping of the Christmas tree on the paper that was, scrapbook type paper. The outside, of course, is just red cardstock, and I used a white Posca pen to do the writing, and just stamped the presents and the Christmas tree with the stamps I had. If you are interested in which stamps those are, I can try to find out, and if you are interested, just leave me a message in the comments. So that one was pretty easy to do. Then, of course, I folded it so that it would stand up, 3-dimensionally. Okay. So then I decided, well, if I could do it once, why not do it twice? So I just put 2, and then if you have these standing and you have a breeze in the background, like your air conditioning comes on in July, then they can wiggle in the wind. Made them look like ornaments with a little silver top on top, and just put one in the middle, a bigger one in the middle, which actually has a little, I drew the bail on it with the, what are those pens? Oh, the Faber-Castell Pitt pens. And did a little decorations. I don't know if you can see the little green line around there and a little red line around that. But things like that just add to it. And you may not actually see those or consciously see those when you're opening a card, but your mind sees that stuff. And your mind says, oh, well, that's a little extra, isn't it? So then I wanted something different, and this paper was scrapbooking paper, and it had this lovely stuff on the back, the lovely blue, and then the scrapbooking paper went from here to here, and it only had the one snowman, but he's on the left. So when you open a card, you usually open it from right to left. So I wanted it to open from right to left, so I just simply folded the scrapbook paper, which, you know, this is the width of the scrapbook paper from here to here. And I folded that, and then I cut this snowman out of another piece of the scrapbooking paper. You know, it was in the same position, in the wrong position, and you can see that I glued it together there and put these little snowflakes to kind of disguise that gluing. Then this side of the paper, the diagram for the snow just stopped right there, so I added the snow under him on this side with my colored pencils, so that it would look like he's actually standing on something instead of just standing out there in the middle of the blizzard. And then, of course, I put him a little real top knot instead of the, you know, printed one. So that was fun. I could have given him a present or something to hold, but I didn't decide to go that crazy. So that was easy. So this one is a printed piece of cardstock. This was probably the simplest one I did. This is a printed piece of cardstock that I, you know, wrote my sentiment on. It had the one bow on this side, which works because, of course, it's opening left to right. But I wanted this one to have a raised bow, so I cut out from another piece of paper this extra piece of ribbon and the extra bow, and that is raised up just a little bit. You can see that's raised up a little bit. So it's kind of three-dimensional and kind of left open like that. Also, I took my, what is that called? It's a gel pen. It's a jelly roller that has sparklies in it, and I went around all the gold parts of the ornaments in here. Not the ones under what I wrote, but all the other ones. So you can see that there are gold shiny stuff on that piece of paper that was not there before I did that. So it was a little more complicated. It did take I don't remember how long it took, but it didn't take that long because, you know, all the good stuff was already printed for you. And yes, I know I said I wanted things opening right to left, but when you do a cut off piece of the card like that, then you can have it opening from this side and it looks proper. This one is definitely the simplest one. All I did for it was to highlight all the golds with my special pen again, because there was, you know, those were just little white dots in the air. There was no shiny to this. I put all the little places on the trees where the snow was, on the bushes, on the roof of the house, and on the inside I glued on these, punched out and glued on these extra snowflakes, wrote my sentiment, and that was it. So that's the easiest one. And if you want to know these paper pads, just let me know in the comment section. This one, the same, was another piece that I took and did the three-dimensional, to make it kind of three-dimensional. I fussy cut around the inside of the poinsettia here, and then raised it up with glue dots and glued the ends of the petals down, so it's just kind of raised up in the middle, not raised up on the edge. And I could do something like go around the edge with a sparkly pen or something to make it more interesting, but I kind of like that simplicity. I thought about having my sentiment go under the notes and try to make it look like that, but that was going to be too much trouble, so I didn't do that. They had the pre-printed designs here, but I did use my green gel pen to color in some of the spaces, and I think it looks quite festive. Then I said, well, you know, I did that once, I can make another one, except I only had 3 pieces of paper. So this is 1, this is 2, and this came from the third sheet of paper, this raised up section. So for the third one, there was another poinsettia printed on the same piece of paper upside down. So the paper was printed kind of like that. Or maybe it was printed like that. But anyway, when I went to get the second set to put on top of this one, then it didn't have, this leaf here was not or petal, I guess it is, was not whole in its entirety. It was not there. So I had to use one of these other leaves and cut this out and use my colored pencils. And you can see that it is different than this. But when you look at this one by itself, you don't notice that that one's so different from everything else. Plus, the poinsettias that were down at the other end of the paper didn't have the red marks on them, so I had to do that with my colored pencil as well. And these are pretty simple on the inside. This one I colored with the red. You can see the difference. I like the green better, and the red is colored pencil. The green is a gel pen that has a little bit of sparkle to it, so I like the green better. But it's kind of fun either way. So then I said, well, you know, I got so many more to make, which I only had 8 more to make at that time. So I decided to make an easy one, which didn't turn out as easy as I thought. But I had accidentally cut the piece of paper that had it had a wreath on it. It was a full wreath thing, and I had accidentally cut it in half. So I said, well, what can I do with that? So that I cut the piece out of that. Whoops, it goes this way. Okay, you can see where it goes that way. Okay, and then I cut it out of that, and I had this lovely red paper, this cardstock. It was white on the inside. So I cut the circle out of that, and I punched a hole with my crocodile. I inked the edges on this one because I didn't like the whiteness of this. It just didn't look right, even though there is whiteness in behind it. And then when you sit this one up, you can see that it kind of dangles from it. Or I did actually take this one, and this is not incorporated into the card. I put a piece of Scotch tape here so that you can remove the ornament if you want to hang it on your tree. Then I drew a line with my Pitt pen and added these little fussy cutout pieces that I had from another piece of the paper that I'd done all the fussy cuts with. So I think that looks kind of cute because I couldn't find a fireplace to put them at. So I did 2 of those the same way. Of course, they look different because the center gizmo is different. And the only difference is the stockings are in a different order. And there you have that. So I said, well, that's an easy way to do it. So I'll just do the rest of my cards that I have to do in that manner. Let me move these over here so that they're out of my way so I can show you what I did. So these, I had the leftover cutout piece that I'd cut with my X-Acto knife. I cut this circle. I don't have a circle cutter big enough. Well, I do have a circle cutter, but it's not a reliable circle cutter, and my X-Acto knife is reliable. So I cut this out with my X-Acto knife, and the circle that was left over there, I put in this card that had this piece of paper was left over from something else. So I cut a circle out of it. I did a little bit of gel pen along the edge, did gel pen around the edge of the card itself, and I put a ribbon in that one. That's 2 different pieces of scrapbooking paper, one on the front and one on the back. Put a bunch of little sparkly doodads on them, did some gel pen print there, gel pen, not gel print. I do so many gel prints, I always think that's what I'm trying to say. And then I took the piece from here, from the red card, and just turned it on its side and glued it to the back here to have yourself a Merry Christmas. And I know that's kind of plain on the inside, but it's kind of fun. And then I've added the little bulb pin, so that you can take that off and use it in your journal, and or you could use it on the tree if you want to take the bulb pin off. But that's all there is to that, is the little detail like that. And then this one's the same thing, only this one I put a few more little of the little gems, and all of this sparkly that's on this circle here is from my gel pens, and then the edge here is from my gel pens. Now this was already on the card, but the edging around there is from my gel pens. And I could probably put an edging around there and make it more special, but I haven't done that yet. I may do that before I send them out. I'm not sure. Okay, so here's how I make these cards. I'm going to show you how I make these particular cards. what I did is I started with 2 sheets of scrapbooking paper that happened to have 2-sided. So we have the fra la 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 on this side, and we have a nice red on that side. The other one is a piece that has ornaments on one side, and it has this weird blue on the other side, which is okay too. Okay, so then I drew a circle. Well, no, I cut them. They are 11, or sorry, there's the full 12 inches across because it was a 12 by 12 sheet. And I cut them to be 5 inches and 5 inches so that I have 2 cards each. Okay? And then I drew a circle on each one of them. And I'm going to cut out that circle with my X-Acto knife. And I'll show you how that works. It's pretty easy. Whoops, get back over there, you. I don't want to show that yet. So all I did was to follow that line. I do have to put my cheaters on to do that. And we just start wherever we want and follow the line around. And I usually just move my hand when I'm doing a circle. When I'm doing certain fussy cuts, I kind of just move the paper, but I have to reposition it all the time because I don't get my hand out of this quadrant. So I usually do about 1/4 of it at a time. And I keep if I can, I keep my X-Acto knife blade in the slot so I don't have to go looking for that slot again. And I just cut around on that pencil line. Now, if my circle doesn't turn out perfectly, that's okay, but I can actually take my scissors then and make any adjustments that are needed so that my circle looks more perfect. There are a zillion different types of circle cutters. There are some that are punches, of course, but the punches won't get this far into a card usually. They usually start here in your punch. If you're punching a circle, it would only punch one that far away from the edge. Okay, so when I get to that point, I take my eraser. The first thing I do is take my eraser and go around the outside of this to get any stray pencil marks off of there. And on my circle on my card as well. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to make a pretty design to that, and I have a die cut, and I can look this up for you as well if you're interested, that has the outside dimensions. I showed you that on the previous cards that I showed you. Have that as the outside. And you can use what's left over inside as well, but I'm going to tape that to this and I'm going to center it, and the way that I center it is I just look through the hole and I can see that, you know, this little lot, you know, this little space is about the same as this little space and so on, and I have some Scotch tape attached to that somewhere around there. There it is. And there. Oops, and there. And then I'm going to run it through my die cut machine. I'll be right back to show you the rest. When you tape it to that, that's just to keep it from moving when you're putting it through the die cut machine, because sometimes it will do that. I have an Ellison Design Big Shot cutter. Okay, so it looks like this on the outside, and we just untape it very carefully because our Scotch tape has been used a bunch, and this is the type that you can actually peel off if you haven't had it on there forever. Excuse me. And we'll put that to the side. Just taping it over here. And then it cut and I use a little skewer to help me push out all the pieces of whatever I've die cut. Come on, you. Sometimes it helps to go up under it like that. and help it get loose. And there we go. And then I can use this for something else. For example, if I wanted to, I have on my first card, remember it looked kind of plain? If I took this and put it around the edge of that circle, that might be more interesting. So I'll consider that too. But see, you can use all the little pieces that you die cut. Okay, so we have the circle for the inside, and we don't need our die cut anymore for right now. We don't need our little skewer anymore. And so now what we're going to do is that, and I've done that on all of them actually. So I have two that are like this, two with the ornaments, that I have the circle, and I have the circle from the inside. That one went there. And then I've done the other one with the Deck the Halls one. And there's the thing from it. And the other one with the ornaments. But to make it more interesting, I think it will be more interesting if I take and switch up the things that are in the circles that are used in the holes. So I just switch these two, for example. And then I'll switch the other two. And I might even could even put this side out if I think I like that better. And I might do that on one of them just to make it look different. Although if somebody detached it from the card, then they could see the inside of it anyway. And I'm going to put a couple of these up here out of the way, and I'll show you how I decorated these when I was doing it with just my gel pen. I love this one. This is I got these for like, I think they were $20, and I had a 50% off coupon at Michael's one time, and it was a gel writer. And there's a whole set of them that I can't really show you because it's kind of over there and got a lot of stuff on it. But what I did, for example, if I were going to decorate this one, I would take the circle and just a little scallop along the edge or a little zigzag along the edge makes it more interesting than just having it plain. And since there is green in the scrapbooking paper, it relates to it, so it looks like it belongs. And it gives a hand done look to it, so it's kind of fun with that. Now, to make it more interesting, I could put a dot in each one of these scallops, or I could take my fancy other gel pen that just makes sparklies on everything, and I could maybe outline each of the notes or something. It's a lot of work, but it really doesn't take much. I mean, you just kind of sit here and meditatively work on your cards and work on, whichever design that you've decided to make with it. If you're doing the scallops, or if you're doing zigzags, or if you're doing the coloring in the notes, or whatever the particular thing is. And of course you would choose your own thing to do on that. You could actually take the rhinestone type things and put them on each of the notes. That might be a fun thing to do. You just want to make sure that it goes together at the end. And there we have one that's been decorated. Then I would take my crocodile, which looks like that, of course. And I've got it set on the 1/8 inch punch. I would go to the top, which you kind of look at where the top is by where the middle of the thing, and straight up and down, middle of the card and straight up and down. And then you put a little hole in there. And that's ready for a piece of ribbon or a piece of string. I think I had a little, well, I don't know where I put it, so I'll have to get additional string, tie it through there, and then attach it to my card. And this is going to go with this card. And to make that more interesting, I'm going to go ahead and draw around the outside of this one as well. Let me see how my time is going. I like to keep my videos under 30 minutes if possible, because sometimes my computer does weird stuff with it. So here, what we do is look for a design. So what we could do is, we could make kind of a little arrow looking thing, but it won't look like an arrow. It'll look like a little fireworks or something like that, if you want to call it that. And this pen is really neat because it has a little bit of sparkle to it too. So that's one reason I like using it. And we just do that at all the places that look the same. So in other words, all these points. And should probably make them about the same, so that one needs to be a little bit longer. And I've got 2 more places. One right here, and one right here. And then I just take, and maybe the other place, I put a little circle here. Circle in the middle of all of those. You do have to watch and keep your hand off the table or off the card, because the card will be wet for a few minutes where this gel pen has been used. And then maybe we'd go ahead and do the same thing I did with the other ones, which was to make a little outline of the die cut stuff that's there. It's kind of like a little scallopy thing. And that, in your mind, will relate to the scallops that we put on the little ball that goes in the middle of it. Could get more elaborate and ink these, you know, like edge ink these, like I did the one circles in the middle, or any of that stuff. It just depends on what you decide to do and how you decide to do it. I mean, this is the fun part, is the decorating of the card, so that it makes it unique from all the other cards that you've made. Even if you make them all with the same thing, they will look different, because if you put this side out, that's going to look like a whole different thing than if you put this side out. And that's how easy it is. All I have to do now is put my string through there, which I don't see my little red string I had that I was going to use, because of course the red will look cute with that. Oh, I have some over there. Let me get one real quick. Okay, there's one with all different colors. And there's a little red one. I don't think I can pull that out. Of course not. But I can take all I need, which is about that much. And I'm going to tear that into, it's an embroidery floss, so it has 6 strands. So I put 3 strands and 3 strands. And I'll go ahead and put this 3 strands through here. If you'll go through there, thank you very much. Then I put my 2 ends together and do an overhand knot. Come on, end. Start up there a little bit better. I wind them together, it makes it easier. And an overhand knot. Should have had a little more string there, eh? Would have been a little easier. But anyway, get those strings through there. If you can't do it with your fingers, sometimes you can use your pen from your glue bottle. Get it to go through there like that. Grab all 3 of those and make that little knot. Come on, you. And of course it's going to misbehave. Typical, typical. Pen lay down there. Okay, I missed getting one of my threads through. There we go. So there we have it, and we can trim those off. And then we would just take our, I didn't bring a pen over, but we just take our pin and run it through that hole there, or we could just take a little piece of tape there. Here, we'll do that. It'll work. Piece of the Scotch tape. I usually bend down an end so that if somebody wants to tear it off of there, it'll be a lot easier. And then we take that little tape, we want to center it and try to make it be straight up, so that when it hangs there, it won't hang down crookedly. And it isn't. It's doing fine, except it's got the, nope, doesn't have the red side out. Look at that. There we have it. And I usually write my sentiment so that it goes in behind the circle and or in behind the edge of the card, because then you don't see it until you open it. But I could even write it on the back. I think I'll write it here. And that's a Posca pen. Shake them because they are paint pens, so you need that little ball to shake up. Then you always, and that one is not the one I want. And you always want to start it on some little piece of paper so that the paint gets flowing, and then you're ready to go. Afraid I got out of the line on that one, but that's okay. If I did, I can fix that. So let's see if it closes. You need to let that dry just a smidge. But when it closes, it will cover it up. Yay! See? You can tell. There you have it. That's how I made my Christmas cards this year for Christmas in July. Thanks for watching. If you liked it, subscribe. If you didn't like it, subscribe anyway. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.